I don't remember. Once we started the live streaming, let's see.
You're definitely live. You're gonna play the video, right?
Yeah, am I live now?
You are live now. I just got the YouTube notification.
Hey, so we're having fun a little bit with this new platform. Okay. Woo, we will learn this. So once you do that, it's live on YouTube. Going back to Zoom today, folks. So this will be fun. And what we'll do is we'll go. I know, this is fun. Okay, you know what I need? I need music like Shalana has, where we can just jam to it like that. But I will start this. Let's see. Okay, just for grins, what can y'all see on the screen?
A dark blue box.
Like the dark blue, do you see like the little galaxy stars?
Yes, the
Yeah.
galaxy.
All right, so I'm going to start it.
Candlelight has gone out. Some will win and some will lose. Nothing much else to say. Thought I was searching for something. Door has closed, not a sound. Take a look as I am now. Still I smile and don't speak. Will you please slow down? Slow down.
Hey there. Do you ever wonder how the rich seemingly get richer year after year while you're still struggling? Or do you wonder, what are you going to leave behind for your kids? What kind of legacy will you leave for your heirs? What about you'd like to know more about financial freedom through passive and residual income? If any of these are topics you'd like to know more about, but you don't know where to start, let's get connected. I have a 10-part strategy to grow, protect, and transfer wealth that I call Pitranomics. I'm Juli Pitra. Join me in my Facebook group, and let's grow together. See you soon. Well, hello, this is Juli Pitra with Pitranomics. Thursday, couple of things. I'm going to be straight up honest. My energy level is a little low, but I'm hoping to get some great feedback with you guys about a topic. And we are also trying to switch back to the Zoom platform. StreamYard was interesting. Not saying we won't go back there, but if you just bear with us while we work out these kinks. Now we're trying Zoom. So, by the way, can everybody hear me? I'm not muted.
Yes.
Etc. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is try to share. Actually, no, I'm going to ask Shamir to share the presentation. Like I said, we're still working this out. Everything's different. And Pitranomics is the 10-part strategy to grow, protect, and transfer wealth. Each Thursday, we talk about a different strategy. And today we're going to talk about snack now, feast later. By the way, all of the strategies tend to run together, have some overlap, but this is a really important concept. In order to accumulate and in order to save for a later, let's say, expenditure, maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a wedding, maybe it's your kid's college, requires that you reduce your consumption in the present so you can have and enjoy a big consumption event in the future. Now let's talk about that. A lot of people that I know, instead of snacking now, I won't say they feast, but they full on eat well every single month. And then when it comes time to have a large expenditure, they use credit. I've done it myself. I still do it. We do have some reserves, but let's start with what I would like for you to do first in your snacking. Okay. First, snack to get rid of that really expensive debt. Okay. So if you make, for example, $5,000 a month, save at the very least $500. If not, $1,500 a month. That's what I mean by snacking. Cut down that consumption in the present so you can enjoy something later on. So first, get rid of really expensive debt. Second, develop a rainy day fund, an emergency fund, in case something happens so you don't have to immediately go to hitting credit. Credit is very expensive. Most people's credit cards are 18 to 21, sometimes as high as 23%. That's very expensive. Have some cash reserves because you never know when not only one emergency hits you, but several. So have some extra money and then save it in something where it's easy to get to. So your cash reserves should not be in the stock market. They shouldn't be in crypto. They shouldn't be in real estate. Your cash reserve should be something easy to get to in case something happens. Now, how long? How big should your cash reserves be? That sort of depends on your philosophy. I think 6 months is a minimum. If you can, have a year, because you never know when something happens. Let's say you have a great paying job, but for some reason you lose your job, but you have a lot of expenses you can't just abandon because you lose your job. You still have your rent or your mortgage. You still have your utilities. You still have food and shelter, food and automobile and all that you still need to obtain and provide if you're going to find another job. So have enough to get you through your hard times. There are 3 areas that I usually try to talk about in the Snack Now, Feast Later. It's budgeting, it's credit, and it's cash flow management. Some people think cash flow management and budget are the same things. They're close. Budget, you have a future sort of guideline for what you want to spend on what, when, and how. But a cash flow management is what keeps you from going under. So cash flow management, for example, helps a business that on paper is profitable from hitting a snag and having to declare bankruptcy because they don't have money at a current point. So cash flow management is a bit like cash flow smoothing. Let's say you have to pay your property taxes on your home. Well, budgeting means you know that you have, say, $10,000 worth of property taxes if you're in Texas to pay on your house sometime between January 1st and January 31st. Cash flow management is assuming that that big expenditure happens to you each month and you put away money for it each month, maybe even a little more in case something changes, so that when that big expenditure hits, it does not interrupt your other expenditures. So that's what cash flow management is about. Today, we're going to focus on credit, though. It's so important. And it's not just, where'd we go? It's not just about snacking on the food that you have. It's snacking on your credit. Thank you. Okay. So let's talk about the causes of low credit. Big ones that people know. Late payments. It's worth the time to set up automatic payments up front. so that you don't have to worry about forgetting. I will tell you, this is my big thing, my big Achilles heel, that if it's not on recurring payments, I tend to forget them. Thank goodness I have a husband that kind of looks out and is like, hey, this is due. But if left to myself, I would have lots of late payments simply because I forgot about something that wasn't on auto pay. And I have some bills that not only aren't on auto pay, the option isn't there, which in my mind is crazy in this day and time. Another cause of low credit is high utilization. This is another area where I make some mistakes, and I'll tell you why. I have a credit card, Citibank Advantage card. So every dollar spent on that card gets me Advantage miles. So I tend to use that card all the time. I don't care about those other cards because I want my miles. I want to get my miles each time when I travel. I don't want to have to pay for plane tickets. So I am loading up that card each and every time. It doesn't matter if you pay it off. At some point, you're going to be triggered for high utilization, even if you pay it off each month, and we'll get back to that later. Another is a high number of inquiries. So again, I just found out that there were 2 inquiries on my credit that did not go through because I keep my credit protected. I'll get to that later, but you never know when someone's going to try to steal your identity. And what that means is steal your credit profile to get credit that they use that now you're left holding the bag for. So it's really, really important to stay on top of what your credit's doing so you can see if something like that happens. Another mistake people make, let's say you get into credit card trouble and you decide credit cards are bad, and then you close accounts you've had for a while because you're like, well, it's better not to have credit because I'm not spending it correctly. If you absolutely know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that you will not be able to exercise discipline with having that credit available, that is a responsible choice. But if it's at all possible to just keep those cards open and use them just a tiny, tiny bit and make sure your payments are always on time, keep your utilization low, the longevity of the credit accounts you have actually improves your credit. So before you close an account you've had for a while, discuss it with someone that knows what they're talking about. By the way, let me just pause to say there are lots of credit repair agencies out there. What is a good one? I feel that one is good if when you talk to them, they can identify, they've had the experience to identify before you even say what you've done, what your mistakes have been. There is not a one size fit all to any application of strategy. Strategy is great. Everybody can use it, but how you apply it is important. So let's say your big thing is you have very high debt. You need to look into credit consolidation, debt consolidation. Well, you want someone that knows a lot about that, with whom you have rapport. And the last thing is a big cause of low credit. And again, how do I know? Firsthand. Errors in your credit profile. Some of the big ones, you have multiple names out there. Ladies, whenever we get married, we tend to have that. I have, I think, no less than 6 different renditions of my name out there impacting my credit profile. Before my mother passed away, believe it or not, her name wasn't the same as mine, but we had some cross-contamination of credit. Now that was years ago. I'm not sure how that happened, but you need to pay attention to if your credit is bleeding into someone else's and vice versa. So make sure your name is good. That's a hard task. I've been working on it forever because every time I have to do an inquiry, I can't say that word today, they somehow come up with a new version of my name. Also, you can have multiple addresses. So when your credit profile looks erratic, multiple addresses, multiple aliases, that tends to make you look less than desirable, because please remember your credit score is an indication on how good an investment you as the credit holding person is for someone else to extend you credit. So the creditor wants you to take credit out, of course, pay your bills on time, but actually they don't really want you to pay them off. I tend to pay each of my credit cards off completely. Creditors aren't really happy about that. They want the interest. So when you are trying to build your credit, you have to remember what it is the creditor wants to see in you. So let's go to the next page, please. Actually, skip that blank one. We'll come back to that. Thank you. So credit repair solutions. Get a really solid credit monitoring service. I forgot to add my link. I do offer some for sale. You don't have to use it, but if you did, that'd be great. But monitor your credit. Look at how old you have, how far back your credit accounts go. Make sure that no one's put something on your credit that you didn't know about. Make sure anything you thought was paid off has been paid off. Make sure there's no few errors. So for example, my name, my married name is Juli Pitra, but my maiden name is Juli Tucker. And each of those names has been misspelled no less than 3 times. And I find it odd. I can understand saying, okay, Juli, Juli, and then maybe Julie. That is an understandable mistake. But the July or the Tuli, I don't understand how those happen. Okay. So monitor your credit. I also have, what do you call it? I have had my identity, I guess, pilfered, not completely stolen, several times. Whenever you go to a gas station you're not used to, or whenever you use your ATM where you're not used to, make sure you really pay attention as to what happens later, because you don't know whether or not that's like a scam site. So pay attention, monitor it, and set up alerts. Set up alerts on your social media. Each of us know somebody that has had their Facebook profile hacked. Somebody's opening up a fake Facebook profile and they're friending you and you're like, I thought we were already friends. Honestly, I don't know why they're doing that, but I know that they do that. So have someone monitor your social media as well. Another way to repair your credit is to pay your bills on time. I mean, there's not much more than you can say about that. Pay your bills on time, but also time your payments, because here's something to remember. You have a due date when your payment is due. You have a report date when that creditor reports to the credit agencies. And that is the date where your credit utilization is determined. So let's, for example, say your credit report date is the 20th, but your due date is the 25th. So you pay your credit card in full on the 25th, but on the 20th, it looks like it's maxed out. So that's a hit to your credit, even though you pay each month all the time. There are certain types of credit, they don't want to give you extra credit just because you pay all the time. In fact, that's the opposite of what they want you to do. They want you to keep your credit utilization low and pay on time. So in their mind, there's room for you to have the extended credit they're considering to offer you. And if you are monitoring your credit, you can find the errors and dispute them immediately. Now, there's an art to disputing credit card or credit history errors. I'm not an expert, but hit your name, hit your address, look at spurious inquiries, and lastly, freeze your credit. Unless you're actively in the process of getting a loan for your home or a loan for a car, just freeze it. Have that person say, I'm going to run your credit, unfreeze and freeze back. Because like I said, I just got notices that somebody tried to open a credit card in Ohio for a wheel, like a tire store. I'm not buying tires in Ohio, but luckily my credit was frozen. And actually I was denied credit because my credit was frozen. So now I have to follow up with who is trying to use my credit, how to cut off that avenue. So any questions so far? Any people have some comments or share a testimony or give me some feedback before we keep going? No, let's go on to the next
I got
page.
something.
Oh, please.
I've had that happen to me. What you're talking about as far as freezing your credit and so forth. I was at a discount tire place, and actually I put a credit alert on my credit card. And so when I was at the discount tire place, opening up a credit card in my name or the credit in my name for tires, it alerted me saying someone is trying to open up a card in my name, luckily enough, it alerted me, it was me that was doing it. So the alert, it also let me know that it actually worked.
Yes.
And I saw it working.
What credit monitoring service do you use?
Well, the I had it through the credit service that I'm with. So I had a limit put on that credit card, even though they offered me more because, well, that particular credit card is paid off. And then I have another one. I have two credit cards. Each one of them is over $20,000 credit limit, and they keep increasing it because I keep paying on time, and then it goes up. But I also have identity theft protection, where my cards are attached to my identity theft.
Right. And that's, believe it or not, even though there are so many credit monitoring services out there, I don't think the majority of people monitor their credit because some of them feel, well, I don't have much. What are they going to do? But what you have can be really damaged if it is stolen. Years and years and years ago, I'm trying to remember, it had to be at least 10 years ago, maybe more. I believe that it was the use of a Discover card at a gas station because I could pinpoint it to right after that. And they racked up thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on my credit card. And my experience was nothing less than frustrating. I called Discover. They had, one of the things they bought were plane tickets, international plane tickets. And so I asked, well, who is this? Where do they live? I want to know where they are. And the funny thing is, they would not give me that information to protect the privacy of the person stealing your credit. I really didn't understand that. But a policeman told me it's not so much at protecting the privacy of the person stealing your credit, it's shielding them from liability if you decide to find out where they are and go handle things and say a less than judicial way. So it's a liability protection. Even though they're stealing your credit, the law is going to frown on you going there to exact retribution for that theft. Now, I also had someone open up cell phone service. They ordered a phone, they signed up for service. Luckily, I saw it. I was like, but the phone had already been delivered. I filed a police report, and it was not a local police report filing. I think it was, I want to say Maryland, but I'm not sure. And they wouldn't tell me who it was. I was like, well, surely it was shipped somewhere. Where was it shipped? That's all I want to know. I want to know where it went. Maybe I need to take a plane ticket or take a plane flight and just see what happened, you know. But here's another thing that these people do. They will get some random person and have something delivered to their house, and the person who lives at the house where it's delivered knows absolutely nothing about what's going on. And so that reminds me of something that's not there. Don't let your mail sit in your box for days, because someone can come by and get it. Everybody gets those credit offerings. Don't just throw those away, shred them. Shred them into tiny little pieces. Anything that has any information, including a lot of these offers for credit, have a little barcode at the bottom. So while you're like, I don't see anything on this paper that says it's personal, you look for any and all barcodes, QR codes, anything, because they've offered that credit invitation to you, and that's how it's tracked. So get yourself a shredder and shred all of those things. Let me also start. A lot of people who are in college, you are ripe for credit theft. You tend to be careless with your paper. You tend not to keep your card in one place, and you tend to use it at a lot of different places. And I'm not saying every college student does this, but every once in a while you use it where there's some kind of scam going on and you're not paying attention because maybe you're living the good life and drunk. I don't know, but pay attention whenever you are using your credit. Everywhere, get your receipts. So when you go to the gas station, I'm sure somebody's had this happen to them. You get gas and it says, oh, there's no receipt. Well, I always like to go in and get my receipt just to confirm that what I charged is what's showing up, because I have had it happen at a grocery store where what I charged or what was showing up as charged wasn't what I bought. So it's hard enough to dispute that after you've walked out of the store. So make sure you always look at your receipts. Even if you don't want to keep them, just confirm. And if you really don't want to keep them, snap a quick picture put them in QuickBooks or Quicken or something so you have record. And another thing that's happening these days, I don't know if you have noticed this, there are fewer and fewer grocery stores that have a lot of service lines. So you have to do self-service checking yourself out. This is not necessarily so much about credit repair, but make sure you have a picture of your receipt and you are very careful to scan everything, watch it so it scans, because there are other people, if you don't completely close that transaction or you start ringing up stuff that already has a transaction started, and then they have a camera on you and they're like, we don't see where you bought that. Just be careful, okay? Be careful, always. And it's kind of a pain to always be vigilant, but the alternative is to be taken. And even being vigilant, someone's going to get in there. So your job is to make sure they don't get in there and cause completely overwhelming, irreparable damage. You're constantly staying on top of it. So in stacking, sorry?
Can I say something to that?
Sure, yes.
When you mentioned about the receipts and stuff, whenever I have anything with my name or my debit card, the last four of my debit card digits on, they put them on your receipts. Whenever you make a purchase from Walmart or get gas or whatever, you use a debit card or credit card, that last four of those numbers will be on your receipt.
Yes.
I always shred everything. I do not disregard or throw away my receipts or anything like that, or leave my receipts in like when you go get gas and you forget to pull your receipt out of the thing or get it. Either don't get the receipt at all, or if you get it, make sure you keep it. And when you discard the receipt, make sure you shred it, because your credit card or your debit information is on that receipt.
That is absolutely right. And I'm going to just say, I'm not a big fan of using your debit card out there in the world to purchase. But let's move ahead 2 slides for those who don't have credit. Let's talk about some alternatives. So what was said there, absolutely perfect. Your documents need to be shredded. Now, am I perfect at this? No, I'm not, because I tend to let things stack up and then I have to go through and scan or shred or scan and whatever. So I'm not holding myself out as perfect for this. In fact, I'm not holding myself out as perfect on any of the strategies. It's constantly iterative. You go through the strategies, you get better. You go through the strategies, you get better. It's a constant improvement. So give yourself some grace if you think you've messed up, because even the so-called experts mess up all the time. So if you have no credit history, then you need to get some installment loans and maybe some revolving credit. Now, I'm not a fan of the secured credit card where you put the money down and you're able to use it. I think that's a subpar form of credit, but get something that tends to be relatively easy to get, a store card. I think there's a Walmart card. I'm not sure. So if you shop at Walmart, try and shop with your credit card. Don't pay it completely off. Pay like most of it off. Pay 95% of it off. Leave a little bit there so it looks like you've got low credit utilization, and then keep going the next month. So that is an example. So a revolving credit means you can use the credit and you have to control how much of it you use. And that shows discipline. And creditors like to see evidence of discipline. Your installment loans are things like your car note and your home loan, because you get it and you get the same amount paid each month. And then store cards are great. I'm sure somebody knows maybe an example of a secured credit card where you put the money into it and then they may either allow you to spend up to that limit that you have, or you may be able to spend a multiple of that limit. Does anybody have any experience with secured credit cards?
Yes.
Okay. For your children?
Actually, I have one on my the credit card that you was just referring to.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have one through the Sam's Walmart or the Sam's, and it has a security thing on it. So whenever that card is used, even if I'm using it, it will alert me. So if I have like a dollar amount that I go over, you know, it's going to alert me immediately that this person is using this credit card and it went over this much dollar amount. Even though it's me, it will alert me saying that I went over. So even if somebody else would use that card or pick up my whatever, it's going to alert me immediately that it hit that dollar amount.
Exactly. So in addition to all the other financial management activities that you have to participate in, you have to monitor your credit. The alternative is to just be completely destroyed by it. So the time for not having any credit, for always using cash, for never believing in credit, that's fine. I don't have anything against that, that mentality. But your credit report these days are used for a number of things. The cost of your insurance on your home, the cost of the insurance on your house. If you're looking for a job, they're pulling your credit. So might as well use it to your best interest. You don't have to run up tons of thousands of dollars in credit, but maybe you have a little bit, because you can have an 800 plus credit score with just a couple $1,000 worth of credit. It's all how you use it. And it really is kind of a game. So think of it that way. You are putting on the right outfit to appear like a very good investor to those who are wanting to extend credit. And having a good credit score, if you want to do things like what I do, invest in real estate. And every time I buy something, my credit takes a hit, because when you buy more than 1 or 2 properties a year, you're getting multiple credit hits that year that you're financing. That's the nature of the beast. So that's why I have to be really good when I'm not in the process of refinancing, so that I can refinancing, so I can take advantage of decent credit when I am trying to refinance. All right, I think we just have a couple more. Oh, let's go to that 2 more pages past that, please. We're going to go to the major reporting agencies. So we all know about Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. There's also one called Innovis, and there are others. So keep in mind, if you have a credit monitoring service and they say this is your credit score, there are many different credit score indices depending on what they're used for. So the insurance people use something different than the home mortgage loan people use, than the whatever else, drawing a blank. So you have to remember that just because you run your credit on Experian and it says you have 800, you apply for a loan, the bank says you have 720. It's a different credit score and they look at different things. So if you are trying to get a home loan, they're very interested in the fact that you maintain your debt to income ratio. Because keep in mind, most home loans are being sold on the secondary market. You have to fit within a certain profile, and they want to make sure that you're handling your credit payments on time. But if you're looking to do a different kind of loan, then maybe having a low debt to income ratio is not as important to that creditor, but they all like it. They all want it if you pay on time. So don't pay late. Let's just take this off so that I can just do this. We'll stop sharing.
Is there a credit service monitoring service that you or anyone else would recommend for somebody like me that has no credit and is trying to get credit going?
Yes, there are some good ones. And the one that I offer that, I think a lot of people on here do is ID Seal. I do like it. One, because it breaks down each creditor individually. And if you have no credit, it's very important to watch your credit history, because once you start applying, you're like fresh meat. So ID Seal is a good one. Review it at least once a month if you can. And they will send you alerts, but just look at it, because you will, like I once opened it up and it said I had a high number of inquiries. And I was like, but I don't remember having any. It's because someone is trying to hit my account. Now, I did have credit freeze on it. It still managed to show inquiries. So that's a little confusing. I don't have a full answer for that. Maybe someone who's more expert in that will know, but I was very surprised because I keep my credit frozen. I do open it generally for a day so that I can get someone to run my credit, and I close that stuff right back down. So keep in mind that if you open up your credit for one particular person, maybe someone's watching you. And by the way, I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie Focus with Will Smith. The ones that are predatory credit users, they're very creative. They're out there trying to get everything done. So be mindful of what they're doing. And if you hear about something, just be careful. Monitor, monitor, monitor. Don't give your credit out. When you go to buy a car, we found this out years ago. The salesman for the car that my husband bought was like, would you like to find out about our credit opportunities? And my husband was like, not really, but okay, let's find out. And they had like 16 inquiries. So what they do is they take your credit and they just throw it out there, and they're trying to find somebody that will come back and offer them something that is attractive to you. And they have decimated your credit. It's like 40 to 60 points in one go. Shalana wrote that CarMax does that. I've never bought a car or even let them have my social security number, but be careful with giving them your ID as well, because you can get inquiries on credit based on your driver's license number. I didn't know that until, fairly recently in life. I know it feels like you have to be constantly defending yourself, but you do. Unless you want to be prey to the credit thieves out there. So another thing that you do is, let's say, for example, you're at a restaurant and you are paying for dinner, especially if you're, dividing it up. Make sure you don't get double charged. I have had that happen in so-called very nice restaurants. I'm going to assume that was a mistake. But if you are going out to a restaurant and you have multiple people, you make sure you remember what you bought. This thing has a calculator on it. You add it up. You add up your tax, you add up your tip, you find out if there's some kind of surcharge, you find out exactly to the penny how much it is. I know people can be annoyed when I do that. One of the reasons I do is that, generally speaking, when you're out with people, somebody's drinking and I don't drink. So I'm not paying for liquor because it's expensive. I don't like paying for liquor. I have a thing about it. I don't mind paying for food, but I do have a thing about liquor because I don't drink it. And for me, doesn't seem like the cocktails are cheap. It's not like the cost of a Coke. It's like the cost of 5 Cokes. So Shalana said, yes, I was charged for valet at a hotel and did not valet. Thank you for saying that. Every time you go stay in a hotel, what do? They want your credit card for incidentals. And how can you charge to your room? You go up there and you say, I'm valeting my car. What's your room number? 335. And the person who is valeting their car, they're not checking each one to say, oh my gosh, does that look like a Susie Thompson? Susie is rather tall and masculine with a beard. Maybe that is not Susie Thompson. No, they're like, okay, 335. Room 335. And you're charged with it. I check it every single time. And sometimes I'm charged for either food that I didn't order. That's fairly common. I would say 1 or 2 times in 10, I'm charged for food. So when they bring the food, they have a receipt. Take the receipt, put your tip, give them back theirs, keep your own until you check out. The other thing, please do not leave your credit cards in your hotel, in your purse, in your wallet, in your backpack or whatever unsecured. If there is no safe in your room, take it with you. And even the safes aren't absolutely, foolproof. Because I think I saw on TikTok, somebody could break that safe. So if you have a lot of practice, maybe they can, but it's at least a line of defense. I think a thief would rather take it from someone who leaves it out than from someone that you have to break the break the safe. So just be careful. And a lot of us these days have, I'm same person, a lot of financial information on these phones. And apparently there are devices that can just scan your information right off the phone. So they can just walk by and take it. That's another reason to monitor. So you can say, I don't know, that's not me. dispute it early. Here's something that just happened to me. I just ordered something. Okay, so TikTok is one of my favorite things. And I saw this cool little shelf and I was like, okay, I went to the site, lots of reviews on the shelf. So I ordered 2 of them and I never got them. They charged me the money for 2, but I don't have them. So I had to dispute that because I don't know where that money is going. And also, by the way, the site's not working anymore. So there's that. I mean, just stay on top of it. Always, always, always. And here's a regime you can think about. If you have a credit monitoring service, check out one particular day a month. Take the time. If it wasn't so much personal information on mine, I would just show it to you. But look at your live recent inquiries. If you have them, confirm that they are yours. Oh, even before that, freeze your credit. How do you do that? You go to the websites, make sure you type them in carefully, go to the websites of the credit reporting agencies, set up accounts, and then most of them are pretty easy to set up an account so you can freeze your credit. It'll take you probably for the big 3, maybe 45 minutes. Go ahead and freeze it. And then, even though it's frozen, monitor it. And monitor not only just your credit, but your whole digital footprint. I have known people that have been, scammed by Zelle. I'm not a big fan of big Zelle payments because once it's gone, it's gone. And I know people that have paid Zelle payments and they paid it to the wrong person and now it's gone. They can't get it back. It's not like a credit card where you have protection. The money's gone. So, well, that's basically it. Any questions about that? Any requests for hints on how to go forward with maybe some ideas or some tips?
Hey, Julie.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you can hear me. Could you put in the chat again the credit monitoring that you mentioned? I couldn't write it down. Can you put that one in there that you mentioned?
Yes, I'm going to send you my link for that. Okay.
Thank you.
I will do that now. Anybody else? Evan, I love how you always have stories about the strategies that we're talking about. Do you, by the way, do you have these conversations about things like this with your kids? I'm sorry, you're still muted.
Yes, I do. I taught my children early how to set up their finances, starting them out with a checking account, and then as later on, teaching them about credit cards and so forth. So I taught my children early, before they left home.
Okay.
So, but I was taught that.
Okay. There we go. That is something really interesting to me because schools don't teach about budgeting, cash flow management, credit management. They don't teach that. And then you're thrust out into the world ill-prepared if you didn't get it from home. And quite a few people didn't get it from home. So this is one of the reasons I'm doing this. And I love that other people have things to share, because talk to each of your kids about how important their credit is, how important their snacking now to feast later. Delayed gratification is an extremely useful skill. You don't have to have everything that you see in the moment that you see it. Think about it. And just because you missed out on that particular purchase doesn't mean all is lost. And you might have protected yourself.
I also learned that with good credit, you can also get my lesson about the importance of having credit or good credit was when I first came into looking at real estate investing. And because of when I had good credit, I was able to use that credit, leverage, what's called leveraging your credit.
Leverage, yes.
Yeah, leveraging your credit would allow me to get several investment properties because I was able to leverage that credit. So in other words, what I mean by that is that, so if, let's say for instance, you got a 800 credit score and you purchased or made a purchase of a property. You put a down payment on the property, get the property because you have good credit score, then you can take and get another piece of property and another piece of property, another piece of property, because you can use that credit, that good credit, to leverage, you know, that credit towards purchasing several properties.
Exactly that. And not only that, your credit score affects how much you're paying in insurance on those properties as well. So make
I
sure you
learned
stay on top of that.
Yeah, from a good broker.
Now, there is a way to stop using your credit, and I didn't really have this on here, but it's to start building business credit. And the reason why I didn't really discuss it is because I'm still working on getting better at that myself. And so I will start just sharing my journey because I have excellent personal resources and less than excellent business resources. So I'm working on it. And by the way, the credit reporting agency for your business should not be the personal credit reporting agencies like Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax. So if your so-called business card is reporting to those, it's doing you no good or little good as a business credit building venture, they should report. There are two. One is, I think it's called Dun & Bradstreet, but there's another one, Experian Business, or I never remember it, but they should be reporting to one of those. So if you're looking to build business credit, it's very important you find those that report to the business credit entities and make yourself look legitimate as a business. So I've just gone through the exercise of trying to get a website, going through the preparation so I can get a Dun & Bradstreet number. And you know what? I know that I should be on it, but it should be a higher priority. I haven't taken care of it. I'm giving myself some grace on that, but you guys get on it right now. No?
I say, not as I do, right?
Do as I say, not as I do. What I say is a lot better than what I do.
So we got some comments on Facebook. Joel says, thank you for the information about Novus. He also says, on my trip to Tennessee, someone charged something from the gift shop on my room. Thankfully, I checked the invoice right away. That seems to be common. And then he also said, delayed gratification is also good when you wait to do something. A lot of times technology and services improve since the time you initially were interested in it.
Yes, yes. So if I go a few years ago, well, more than 10 years ago, it was closer to, I'd say 14 years ago, I was a financial mentor, and my target, the market I wanted to get was women, particularly women of color. Now, I didn't have not near one of those types of clients, but that was what I was trying to do. But there was one client, I actually had both her and her husband working with me, and he was very resistant at first to talk to me. I think he assumed that because I was female, I was going to take her side and everything. And I was like, well, let's start with what it is you want to accomplish with your money and delay your gratification. So she would spend money on furniture and clothes and stuff like that, that would put them in a cash flow quandary, even though he made very strong amounts of money. So getting into cash flow crisis isn't about how much money you're making. It's having the amount of money you need at the time you need to spend it. And that's another important thing about business, because when you look at your P&L, that's over the course of a year. Like, I made this much money and it's so much more than my expenses. Well, that's great. But let's say you're in the retail business and the bulk of your money is being made from, like, let's say September to December, but your expenses are huge from January to September, and you don't have enough money left over to take care of your expenses. So by the time you get to the big push for revenue for your business, you're either using expensive credit to get through, or you've had to go out of business because you couldn't pay current bills. Another thing I want to talk to, not right now, but later, is there are three important financial reports that you need to learn to look at. And this is also important in doing credit. It's your balance sheet, it's your income statement, whether you are in business for yourself or not, because think of your household as a corporation and you have to develop its income statement and your cash flow report. So one of the things I said was when your property taxes are due. Another thing is when your insurance is due. Insurance is going up. Some of us will be hit with an escrow analysis where they're like, okay, your insurance has gone from $1,200 to $2,200, and you're going to have to make up that anticipated shortfall on the anniversary of your escrow analysis. Do you have it? Do you have it? Because they might say, oh, we'll do it and we'll increase your payments. But there are some mortgagers that are like, nope, we want all that money up front because your balance has gone below what it is, considering you have a tax escrow or an insurance escrow to pay.
Yeah.
So
that's including your property taxes.
Yeah.
Because that's gone up
too.
too.
HOA, those are going up too, because HOAs have to pay more in insurance and maintenance.
Yep.
So if you are in an HOA, at least take a look at the minutes. I don't do that because my husband does it every once in a while. I'm not great at it. But see if they've approved as some additional expenditures and you weren't at the meeting. And I don't like going to the meetings. I won't try to pretend that I do, but sometimes they approve because no one's there, these massive expenditures. And you're like, well, that seems nonsensical, but no one was there to object. So take a look at that. What's another thing to think about? Here's something I'd like to say. Every once in a while on my one of my credit cards, I'll log into the site, and I log in probably once a week just to see if there's anything happening. And they'll say you are approved for an additional increase in your credit line. Now, most of the time that's pretty good because you increase your credit line. And if you don't change your spending habits, you've decreased your credit utilization. And if your accounts are frozen, then they're not doing hard inquiries. But if your accounts aren't frozen, you need to make sure they're not doing inquiries at all, because those will hit your credit report. You don't even really think about them because you've not initiated that credit report, but it's happened, or credit inquiry, but it's pulled nonetheless. So keep in mind. You're right, David, these flies are annoying. They're flying right here. Any other questions? Is that it? I can't see who. So, by the way, who likes the Zoom meeting better that's used to the StreamYard? Can anyone say they like StreamYard better? Can you raise your hands? Do we know how to raise our hands? I don't know how to raise my hand. No, like on the, I know there's a way to do it. In the chat, okay. Who likes StreamYard better? Anyone? No? Shalana says she likes Zoom. So hopefully this is streaming to both Facebook Live and to YouTube. We'll see when we're done. By the way, if you get a chance, go to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe and get the notifications so you can see when I do this. It's every Thursday. I'm going to give you a heads up. Next month in September, I will be gone pretty much all of the month, and I haven't decided what I want to do about that. I would like to keep the consistency because that's a long time not to do it, and I don't want you guys to forget about me. So I might just try and do it once a week, and you'll see me bleary-eyed with my bonnet on because it'll be, what time is 6 p.m.? It's 7 hours later, so it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I may be like this. I'm like, okay, who's here to talk about Pitranomics? But I will be gone. I'm going to the Czech Republic, and I plan to have fun. I'm actually going to attend a wine festival, even though I don't drink wine, because I like the food that they have at this festival. So that'll be fun. But I will also make sure before I leave that I put certain types of blocks on my credit cards before I leave. So if you're going to do international travel and you're going to use your credit card, first of all, it's been a long time since I just spent money. I stopped doing that because somehow the money gets taken. I've been pickpocketed like 3 times, and each of those times was after I got money. So they must have been watching me. So if you want to use your credit card, check the protections that you have in a foreign country on your US credit card, because they aren't the same protections necessarily that they are in the US. Go ahead and inquire. Also find out about protections for your phone and your computer, but most people don't walk around with their computer as they're going sightseeing. So your phone is usually with you. Your credit cards are usually with you. Don't carry more than one. You don't need more than one. Keep your passport in the place where you're staying locked up. Because I've had my passport stolen twice, believe it or not. So I don't know what that's about. Yeah. So anyway, keep in mind that you're walking prey for most people, and act accordingly. And Shalane, come on, let's go.
Julia, we got to
Yeah.
get some self-defense now.
Some self-defense. Yeah, credit self-defense.
Be more aware of your surroundings.
Be very aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
And one thing that's on TikTok, which is like my Google encyclopedia from now on, these people who are pickpockets, they rarely work alone. They work in groups.
Mhm.
And so the person that's bumping into you that you're looking at is not the person ripping you off. So every time, and that's true in a number of ways. The person that it looks like is ripping you off, they might at best just be an innocent bystander, or at worst, they are a collaborator in the theft. So keep in mind, don't wear flashy stuff. Don't take more than one credit card at a time on your person. Don't take these purses right here. I don't know if you can see it. Don't take these big purses. I have a small backpack that I wear, actually that I had when I lived there. I wear that thing in the front. It's a very small backpack, and I have my hands on it all the time.
Don't wear a lot of bling bling either.
I don't wear a lot of bling bling.
I have bling bling. I like watches and all. I don't wear that stuff when I'm out and about.
I don't really own much bling, but I don't wear what bling I have. I'm very, and I try, so I don't exactly look like a check, but I try not to stand out as, oh my gosh, American on holiday when I'm walking around the city.
There you go.
So try not to stand out overly much.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, guys, that's it. I hope there was something useful for you. And I appreciate your time. We're going to revisit budgets again next quarter. And one thing I do want to talk about is, if you are in the midst of a lot of debt, how do you get out of that?
Mm-hmm.
Using the same budgeting strategies and Snack Now, Feast Later. Okay, so we'll talk about that next quarter when we cover this topic. So I know it's like 5 minutes before, but if there's nothing else anybody wants to ask, I won't keep you a long time, but I appreciate y'all spending this time with me. I love this. I was exhausted when I got on, but now I'm energized. So thank you very much for pouring into my cup.
Or answer to your question, I like the Zoom better.
Thank you. You like the Zoom better? Okay. We're going to try to stay with Zoom. Okay. And by the way, I think that Zoom has either added some features, or I'm beginning to find out about the features that you can do a live, and hopefully one week I'll figure out how to share my presentation so I can control it, but that wasn't happening tonight. So, like I said, I'm going to get much better at this. By the way, thank you guys so much. And I will see you next week. Mwah. Bye-bye.